So my name is Erick Chua from Shadeclouds.ph. So I'm the founder and now the CEO. I know that you guys just had lunch, so I'm going to try and keep it very light. Okay, because I know that after lunch things can get really sleepy, even for me. I'm still very sleepy. I'm going to try and... Okay, there you go. I'm going to try and keep things very light in my conversation with you guys, so very informal. I don't know how the other talks have gone so far. Unfortunately, I wasn't here yesterday. But try and bear with me in this really quick introduction. So everybody here knows what Lego is, right? Yeah? Very easy. And I think this metaphor is probably used a lot when it comes to 3D printing, right? This Lego and 3D printing in terms of building an idea really always go hand in hand. But when you try and think about what Lego looks like, Lego as in the Lego block, right? So you try and think about the different colors, try and think about the shapes, right? Very primitive shapes. And as the years kept going, as people were developing Lego, as the brand was developing Lego and its competitors were also gaining traction, the shapes got a little bit different. The shapes got a little bit more complex, like the ones you see on the screen. And the companies kept asking the question and kept showing to people, kids and adults alike, here are cool new parts. Here's a cool new twisty or bendable part. How can you use it? What can you build? But in 3D printing, it's a little bit different. Rather than saying, here's a cool new item, what can you make with it? The question is, what kind of thing do you need, and how can we help you make it? So that's the change of mindset that made things really interesting as well for me. And that's how we that was one of the ideas that got us sort of moving on Shadecloud. So what I mentioned was Shadecloud, what was talked about a little bit in the introduction, was Shadecloud is a website, so it's a platform. Where we're envisioning a world where someone can, from their own house, can create from their imagination a physical item, obviously through 3D printing. And you guys all know what 3D printing already is, right? And one of the basic forms of 3D printing is additive manufacturing, is fused deposition modeling, FDM. Right? And there are many different types of 3D printing that I think will probably also be discussed throughout the day. But what I wanted to focus on today was more of the output that we're trying to share with the market. This is our platform, and there are many similar platforms also like us globally. But we tried to bring this to the Philippines because we feel like there's a value that can be taken from this. Basically, the idea is we developed an automated way where people can go onto the website, Shadecloud.ph, have the option, a very simple option, to upload your design, so your STL file, which is your 3D model. And after you upload it, be given the option to sort of view all of your designs on a dashboard, control all of how they work in terms of their options, what feedback they're given, be able to track all of that from the free account that you're able to make. Essentially, be able to choose the color that you want to have it 3D printed in, if you want it to be finished or not, what kind of options or selections you want to do for your print order. And then after you pay for it online, integrated with PayPal and credit card purposes, you can actually have that shipped over to your house. So the idea is, because 3D printing is actually quite intimidating, maybe not for the people in the room, but for some of the people who have not heard so much about 3D printing, who have not delved into 3D printing so much, this gives them that opportunity to sort of utilize 3D printing in their workflow or as a student, or to create a project, to create a business idea without needing to spend so much in buying a 3D printer, without needing to leave their house, without needing to leave their office or their school. Because essentially what we do is we make it for you and we bring it to your doorstep. So this is what we feel we needed. We felt as a business that 3D printing was so important, and what was missing was the convenience factor. There's a very clear level of importance, and that's why we're all here, right? When it comes to 3D printing, why is 3D printing relevant? Because you can turn something digital into something physical to a very exact level. This is something we made also, and to bring forth that very important proposition of 3D printing plus convenience is sort of where our mindset was at as we were developing our business. But when it comes to 3D printing, like any other technology, right, there are always boundaries that go into it. Now, everybody in the room probably has different levels of experience when it comes to 3D printing, I have a feeling. Some of you are students, some of you are not, right? And not everyone, maybe, especially those around the market in the Philippines, understand the different complexities when it comes to 3D printing. So when it comes to supports, which are the ones that that hold the print upright as you're printing it, or when it comes to infill material that determines the density of the item, how strong it's going to be, these things we don't always think about if we're not involved with the industry of 3D printing. That said, a very big obstacle that not just myself, but probably a lot of the people in this room who are involved with 3D printing have to battle with is the fight in terms of awareness. And not a lot of people know, not everyone knows how to make 3D models, not everyone knows what 3D printing is, but a lot of people want to make things using 3D printing. A lot of people want to make things that they have imagined in the past. And that's why within our website, aside from just being a printing solution where we just churn out your orders, we developed we dedicated a huge part of our platform to sort of educating the market. So without any of that intimidation factor, they can go into the website, look through our what we call our design guide, learn about the different rules of 3D printing, what makes it more efficient, what makes it not efficient, what are the limitations to 3D printing, and how can I make that happen today, right? Aside from that, there's also some free things that we try to push out there with regard to teaching people who are not on the engineering side of things that there are free software that they can use, like Tinkercad or Sculptris, where they can sort of play around with the different types of 3D sculpting or 3D modeling software out there, which some of them are usable by kids even. And I was having a conversation earlier where we were talking about, again, that recurring topic of how education is very, very important. And even though we have a lot of these really, really great minds coming together here, making fab labs, doing 3D printing businesses, the market, in terms of market education, is extremely important. And to be able to push these kinds of free software, to tell them, hey, these things are accessible. These things can be usable from your house. You can learn how to make 3D designs from your house. You can learn how to download free 3D models. Of course, we want to avoid copyright infringement. But of course, being able to teach them that they can do these from their own desktop computers makes a huge amount of difference, especially to people who, again, know nothing about it. These marketplaces can be very in-depth. If you guys haven't checked them out yet, one of them being Thingiverse, which is what I just presented earlier, they can go pretty in-depth. We had a client who actually, went to our online shop, or our platform, and using with an interest for Pokemon Go, and kept actually making 3D print orders with a lot of these models that they were able to find online. Obviously, we didn't have them. We made sure that they're not going to be doing this for business but for personal use. But the idea here is that because they didn't have any prior experience with regard to creating very detailed models like these, it gave them that avenue. Now, why 3D printing? This is just more background for how we ended up at this technology. Obviously because we're all familiar with the manufacturing side of things as well. When it comes to mass production, there is that idea of economies of scale, where the more you print, the more you create something, the cheaper it's going to be. Whereas in 3D printing, you sort of circumvent that in the sense that if you're creating bespoke items, you're creating very custom items, or let's say you're in R&D, research development, and you want to create multiple types of prototypes, you want to create multiple variants of something, you sort of forego that very expensive fixed cost at the start. And that's where the value of 3D printing comes along, right? Another big idea that gets thrown around a lot, whether you're in the startup scene or not, or you're coming up with a new business, is the ideation of the maker movement. And here, what we're talking about is basically a lot of our clients, they partner up with us and they tell us, hey, I'm coming up with my new business idea, but I'm not sure how it's going to be. I want to be able to create something and then test it out in the market or get some market feedback, change it up, print it again, change it up, print it again. And that's how 3D printing was made for. That's what 3D printing was made for. And we try to develop our site or our platform to sort of encapsulate that need. To be able to have that dashboard where multiple designs and multiple variations of designs can be housed, again, through a free sign-up, and they can be checked in terms of feedback. When our staff look into it, they check it for free, they assess it, they give the pricing, they give the comments to make it better, how they can make it and even potentially print it cheaper. We also try to educate the client, as I mentioned earlier. We actually had a client who didn't know how to make 3D modeling. And so essentially what they did was, when we asked them to send over their 3D design, they sent over a JPEG image of that's showing over there. And we thought to ourselves, maybe we're just downplaying this. So we asked, can you send over your 3D model? And they said, yes, Eric, we did send over our 3D model. In fact, actually, they thought, it's a very big company, they actually thought a 3D model meant a picture of a 3D item. So education is a huge thing that we try to push for. We ended up being hired by them to do the 3D modeling service for them. But the idea that we're trying to push again is that these types of services is something that's very ever present now in the Philippines. Our service, among others, are able to now supply and do 3D printing, do 3D design services locally, such that clients don't need to go abroad to do this, don't need to pay in US dollars, don't need to pay for shipping that would cost an arm and a leg from overseas. In terms of 3D printing material, I know there was a talk earlier about 3D printing, the different types of 3D printing material. We try to stick more towards the plastics, which for me, and then biodegradable plastics, which for me make more sense for a lot of the clients. We're trying to keep things more affordable to a lot of the people who are still sort of entering the market, and that's sort of where we're pushing. That's sort of our advocacy here. And we've made a lot of different things for that, because the sky is really the limit for 3D printing. Whether you're coming up with something like drones, or you're coming up with, let's say, attachments for slippers or for Crocs. These are things that we work with big companies, small companies, personal items, so on and so forth. And just something I wanted to share with another story that I had in mind that I wanted to share with regard to our platform also, is that when we talk about the youth, because these are the people who we want to sort of target, right? To be able to have them learn very early on in terms of education. One of our youngest clients, we actually met him at a school expo, something like this, but much smaller level. We went to their grade school. We had a printer there, and we showed them the printer and all that. And this very small kid went up to me and he said, "Sir Eric, I want to have little toy soldiers 3D printed for my social sciences project." And I said, I was very impressed by that. And I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to have one of my 3D designers contact you or contact your mom, and we're going to design it for you for free. Just tell us your idea." And he's like, "No, it's okay. I already have the STL file ready at home. So just give me the website and I'll upload it there." This is grade 4, grade 5 kid max. And that's his design, multiple designs. So I was very impressed by that, because when I was grade 5, I was doing nothing like that. So I guess that's sort of a call to action to me and to everybody here, and to everybody who we have the opportunity to speak with, right? That if they can do that, if a kid can do that, what more us, right? But again, there's always that something missing. There's always that something missing when you're sort of building the market. And as I've continuously been saying, resounding awareness cannot be overstated. Especially the fact that we're trying to build our operations on the cloud to be able to make things super convenient for people, whether they're in their office or in their classroom. The point is for them to make that first move, they have to know more about it. They have to learn more about the application, which I'm glad is going to be spoken about in the different talks also today. So yeah, it's really up to them and up to you guys. What kind of things you're going to make. If it's going to be things like everyday items or the not so everyday things. In the end, something that our main advocacy is to be able to have that mindset, to have the world come to you. Whatever you want to make, however you want to make it, you can do that from the benefit of your home. That's what we're trying to advocate with Shadecloud. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys enjoy it. You can catch me after the talk also.